thought I was a fairly secure person, but then I got into a relationship with the avoidant, and now I feel like an anxious mess. I feel like I'm just an anxious attacher. Very common thing to hear from somebody who's been through a relationship with somebody who is severely avoidant. When you get into a relationship with somebody who is emotionally unavailable, there is a fork in the road. You can go down the path of anxiety and anxiousness, or you can take the other direction and return to the path of secure attachment. And that's not necessarily an easy choice, but it is the healthier choice. Yes, it's a natural human reaction to feel anxiety when a person that you love and care about is pushing you away. And being securely attached does not mean that you never feel anxiety. It's part of being human. But the thing is, a securely attached person has the tools in their tool belt. They have the skill set to regulate and manage their anxiety in healthier ways through healthier behavior. And one of those healthy behaviors, and probably the most important of all, is holding boundaries. Yes, holding boundaries is how you prevent yourself from going down that spiral of anxiousness. Your boundaries are your limits of what you will and will not tolerate, what you want, don't want, what you need, don't need, and what you expect from your partner. And the number one reason why people fail to hold boundaries in a relationship with the avoidant is the fear that if I hold my boundary, this person will leave. But failing to hold the boundary doesn't prevent the person from leaving. It just prolongs an unhealthy dynamic where your wants and needs are getting neglected. And if a person leaves a relationship because you held a boundary, what they're really telling you is that your wants and needs and boundaries were not important to them, and your feelings were just not a consideration. Yes, it's sad to lose the relationship, but you're losing a relationship that really wasn't a true relationship because there was no reciprocation. It was a one-way street. Boundaries are your limits. They are your sword and shield. For example, when the avoidant pulled away, when they distanced and disappeared for days, did you just wait and walk on eggshells waiting for them to come back and take it personal and personalize it? It must be something that you did and cater to them to avoid triggering them again, to earn their love? Or did you hold a boundary? Did you say, I've noticed there's been some distance. I haven't heard from you. Consistent communication is something that's important to me, and I feel it's important for a relationship. Disappearing for days makes me feel like I'm not being considered, and it doesn't work for me. If consistent communication is not something that you're willing to do, then this relationship doesn't work for me. While I can respect your space, communicating to me about it is important, and it's a must. It really is a boundary of mine. Did you say that? One of two things is going to happen when you hold a boundary. The person's either going to take accountability and work to do better because they care about your feelings, wants, and needs, or they're either going to run away and likely make it seem like your boundary is the problem, that you're wrong for having it, not their behavior. When you're failing to hold boundaries, you are actually self-abandoning. People that are anxiously attached, especially people that are naturally anxiously attached, that are wired for anxiousness, they fear abandonment. They fear losing their partner. They fear being rejected. They just want to be loved. But you don't earn that love by failing to hold boundaries. All you do is cater to the insecurities of another person while self-sacrificing, because you're neglecting your wants, your needs. If you can't watch your back, who will? You are self-abandoning because your feelings and needs are being thrown out the window and you're falling on your sword to earn the love from an emotionally unavailable person. And when you are consistently self-abandoning, when you are neglecting your own wants and needs, and you are becoming hyper-focused on soothing your anxiety to get that validation from this person, to get the reassurance that they're not leaving, you're actually heading down the path of emotional unavailability yourself. Because you are not in touch with your own needs, your own emotions. You're becoming hyper-focused on self-soothing, which makes it more difficult for you to empathize with your partner and their needs too, because of your own anxiety and insecurities. One of the core components of emotional availability is the ability and willingness to empathize with the other person, feel their emotions with them, and genuinely care about their wants, needs, boundaries, and feelings even when you're triggered. The more anxious you become, the harder that is. And yes, people that are anxious, they really do want that love. They do want that committed relationship. But when you're self-abandoning, you are setting yourself down a rabbit hole that isn't healthy for you, because all you're doing is you're setting yourself up to get heartbroken over and over and over again, failing to hold boundaries and enabling the person that is mistreating you, the person that is taking advantage of you. So hold those boundaries. It's not easy, but the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more secure you will feel. And yes, ultimately, emotionally unavailable people, especially severe avoidance, narcissists, those types, they can't maintain relationships with people that have, hold, and enforce boundaries, because they generally go into a relationship with a what's in it for me attitude. How does this person make me feel? What do I get out of it? Now, a person that has that mentality is not considering the needs and feelings of the other person. So boundaries are an inconvenience for them. They love their own boundaries. They don't like yours. But your boundaries are how you free yourself up to meet somebody who is going to respect your wants and needs, who is going to actually invest into you emotionally the way that you are into them. But the more you continue to choose somebody who is not choosing you, the more you continue to neglect yourself, self-abandon, the more anxiety you are creating for yourself. Yes, avoidant behavior, when they're distancing, stonewalling, cheating, gaslighting, doing any of that extreme stuff, it's not healthy and you don't deserve it, because you wouldn't do that to them. But you do have the ability to set your limits and not allow yourself to get treated like that. You do have the ability to hold those boundaries and prevent yourself from continuously being mistreated in that way, from trying to beg and chase someone to choose you when they're showing you through their words and actions that they're not choosing you. And ultimately, a person like that, they're not able to really choose anybody outside of themselves. It's not personal about you. It's a reflection of them, their unhealed attachment wounds, their insecurities, their character. When you're failing to hold boundaries and you're trying to earn that love, you are continuously pushing yourself down the path of personalizing their unhealthy behavior, personalizing their traumas. And when you're personalizing it because you're not holding boundaries and trying to earn good behavior from them, it's just this giant snowball of anxiety. But you can spare yourself that anxiety. Start holding boundaries even when it's not easy. Sure, it's easier to hold boundaries when you don't have feelings for a person. But once you start to catch feelings, it becomes profoundly harder, but it becomes so much more important, because that's how you protect your heart. That's how you protect your own mental well-being. And by the way, our boundaries are actually informed by and created by our core values. That's how we get our boundaries. They're based off of our values. So your boundaries are really how you define yourself to your partner. You're letting them know what your limits are, what your wants are, values are, what it is that's important to you. Without boundaries, you're a blank slate. You're only canceling yourself and you're self-abandoning. Don't abandon yourself. Don't do it.